Tonight, KXAN continues investigating people in positions of power and whether they're following ethics laws.
A tip led us to this land in Dripping Springs, proposed for a new town center, a $25 million taxpayer-funded project. 3 public officials, all part of the same family, stand to benefit from the project. The land they own for decades is right next door. KXAN investigator Jody Barr exposes how they failed to tell you about their conflicts of interest.
The main drag through Dripping Springs has frozen in time. The old feed store.
Well, I started working at a feed store.
Still doing what old feed stores used to do. The stores along Mercer Street still fly Old Glory and offer anyone a spot to sit a spell. But don't let all this fool you. Just 1 block over, Dripping Springs has got itself some big city problems.
Some of the old-timers go, what happened to my little town?
Developments around the city are popping up everywhere. In the last decade, the city's population nearly doubled, bringing with it $8 million in new taxes. And the city and the school district's already looking to spend it. There's a plan to build a $25 million town center that'll look something like this. It's part retail, part government office. The plan is to build it where Dripping Springs ISD's front offices are now. 4 government boards are calling all the shots on this: Dripping Springs City Council, the school board, the library board, and the tax increment reinvestment zone, known as the TERS board. Right next door to the town center land, a 200-acre development, the Heritage Subdivision. Our investigation found 3 city officials once owned the land, and today they're partners in the development. They are City Councilman John Kroll, his wife, Dripping Springs School Board President Carrie Kroll, and John Kroll's sister, Library Board President and TERS board member Missy Atwood. We spent months digging through public land records, city meeting minutes, and state corporation records. Most important is what we did not find. The law requires public officials to file conflict of interest paperwork when they could personally benefit from a decision. John Kroll hasn't filed forms telling the public he owns interest in the Heritage Subdivision property since 2016. Since then, at least 29 separate Heritage Subdivision items came before council. The city says it has no records of disclosures filed for any of those. We found John Kroll participated in votes related to the Heritage Subdivision, sat in meetings where his subdivision items were discussed, and recused himself from some items related to his subdivision, but never filed the forms telling the public why he could not vote on the items. We even found evidence in council records that show Councilman Kroll went behind closed doors where his subdivision was discussed in executive session. The city says Kroll was asked to leave those private meetings when those items were discussed, but the official minutes don't show whether he did or he didn't. Well, we'd like to talk to you about this Heritage Subdivision. Have you ever taken part?
Ms. Barr, thank you for your interest in this. I think we've provided you a statement.
I'd like to call to order the Board of Trustees for the Dripping Springs Independent School District tonight.
Dripping Springs School Board records show President Carrie Kroll also never disclosed her interest in the Heritage Subdivision property in her annual filings. Board minutes show she recused once during a vote on a road bypass project. It will eventually run right through the Heritage Subdivision, but she did not file a form explaining why. She also never filed disclosures on agenda items related to the town center project, which would be built next door to her planned subdivision. Have you ever disclosed an affidavit where you've disclosed your property ownership in the Heritage Subdivision?
I don't believe that that's been required, and everybody is aware on the board that I own that. There's not a disclosure requirement. There's no votes I've taken on the school board that's relevant.
And there's Councilman John Kroll's sister, Missy Atwood, who holds a voting seat on the city's TERS board. The TERS is the main government body making the decisions on the town center project. Can we talk to you for a few minutes about this the TERS and this development and your family's property?
I'm really happy that you're interested in the project, but I've got to go into the TERS board meeting right now. Thanks.
Okay. We filed a records request with the city for Atwood's disclosure statements. The city says there are none. The reason, according to the city, is the law doesn't require TERS board members to disclose conflicts, meaning a board member could have a conflict and never have to tell anyone about it.
An investigation needs to be done as to what the hell's going on there.
We asked ethics attorney Chris Feldman to review this case. He says the law is clear. Anytime officials recuse themselves on a decision, they must file paperwork explaining why.
The legislature did this simply to try to uphold the integrity of the governmental structure in Texas.
How do you think it got to this point? I mean, are there honest mistakes that could be made here? Just a problem with record keeping? What happened?
I think it got to this point because nobody was looking.
So, how's it supposed to happen? We found a textbook example just 2 years ago in Dripping Springs.
Councilmember Crow recused himself from this item and exited the council chambers.
Councilman Travis Crow saw an agenda item coming up to rezone a property next door to land he owned. Meeting minutes show Crow did not vote on that item and filed this form telling the public why.
I wanted to keep it clear and transparent to the public that I was recusing myself from this decision since the property directly was adjacent to mine.
I did provide you with a statement.
Thank you for your interest.
I appreciate your interest in our community, and I'll let my statement speak for itself. Thank you.
Now, the family's joint statement reads, in part, in 2014, we sold a majority stake of our land interest to Stratford Land, making our family a limited minority partner with no ability to influence or direct activities. Further, when appropriate, we have recused ourselves from relevant votes related to the project.
And Jody, I'm sure that the public would be interested to know if there are ethics violations found, so what happens?
Well, first there will be an investigation, only after a formal complaint is filed. I checked with the Hays County District Attorney and the Hays County Sheriff's Office. Each office tells me they don't have a complaint on file or an investigation open into this.
This is part of our ongoing investigative series, Position of Power. All of our tips have come from concerned people like you wanting to know what's going on with the officials in their community and if they are acting in the public's best interest. If you have a tip you want us to look into, contact us at reportit@kxan.com.